If my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp unstrung, would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own? It's a hand-me-down. The thoughts are broken. Perhaps they're better left unsung.
For the first time ever, musicians joined together in our nation's capital to raise awareness and support the 45 million Americans impacted by addiction. Featuring performances by Steven Tyler, Joel Walsh, Sheryl Crow, Jason Isbell, The Fray, John Resnick, and many others.
The message was clear down there, was while this was a great gathering, the bigger picture thing was to take this back to our local communities. And on that bus ride home from DC, we started the conversation about what we were going to do here. It wasn't long after that that the concept of Rally in the Valley came together. This has been 2 years in the making. We've faced some obstacles, but we've on different levels, both personal and professionally, but it never deterred us. We fought the good fight. We brought a lot of good people into the mix, and without them, this wouldn't be happening today.
When we left, there were alumni on our bus, and there were individuals on our bus that, you know, really stepped out of their comfort zone because they were in treatment and they experienced the Unite to Face Addiction rally in DC with us. And to see the impact, to see the ability to connect with other individuals that day was life-changing. It was monumental. And they were like, what are we doing next? What can we do now to unite? And so our idea was, you know, let's take this rally and bring it back to the Valley.
Going down to the National Mall, there were people from every state in the country. And what drew us together is that we all had common purpose. We were all people who understood the devastation of substance use conditions, as well as experienced the positive energy that goes with recovery. So being on the National Mall was like being with 27,000 members of my family. And I am really looking forward to having something like that in the Lehigh Valley. Having something in our community that brings us together and really shows the promise that recovery has in our community.
Like this. What is so cool about events like Rally in the Valley is that it actually attacks addiction at its greatest vulnerability. And what I mean by that is addiction is a disease of isolation. And what it attempts to do is to pull an individual more and more away from the very things that can actually help promote and create recovery. So recovery, and what's so exciting about these events, is that recovery is actually the very opposite. Recovery is about creating threads to relationships and to people that promote, encourage, and say, look, recovery is fun, exciting, and has lots of energy about it. And addiction wants to communicate lies. It wants to tell you that you can't live life without the drug. So first off, New Vitae loves this whole idea, because what people need to understand is that for addiction to be defeated, we have to create a really novel approach. And the first approach is about showing how real people recover and live happy and cool lives day in and day out.
I've never experienced an event like this. I'm looking forward to all of it, but I would have to say in particular that the collective energy when you put together this kind of event, you know, a lot of people that are living very spiritual lives, very positive lives. Recovery brings an incredible amount of positive changes and that's what allows us to change. So just to have a collective, a large group of people in one place, to me, that metaphysical, the power, the energy of, bringing people together that are in such a positive light, and then combining that with music and inspirational speakers and vendors and service providers and like all the different facets of an event like this. I mean, to me, that's it. It's that manifested energy in the moment. I'm looking forward to seeing what that feels like, where you're just standing there and you're just taking in a deep breath and you're just saying, yeah, almost unexplainable. I'm looking forward to that, that moment where I just look around and just say, yeah, this is it. This is that feeling.
I'm looking forward to seeing the community come out. We keep stressing this is caring across communities. It's an all-day, family-friendly event, and I'm just looking forward to seeing all the people from our communities and surrounding counties, just to have the excitement, the bands, the speakers, the food vendors. I hope we have the sun shining down on us, but even if we don't, we have the beautiful tent set up, and we're going to have fun no matter what. I just can't wait to see the turnout and the people there coming together, families, neighbors, friends, just having a good time.
Just that we're really looking forward to the day, really looking forward to to taking that day to really celebrate recovery and seeing the folks that come out, the energy, getting the information out to the Valley. I think it's going to be a great day.
The Rally in the Valley is a free community recovery event that will be held at Cedar Crest College in Allentown, Pennsylvania on May 20th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. There will be information, family education, and a vast array of unique vendors and food available for purchase. Musical guests include Scott Marshall with Marshall's Highway Band, Billy Bauer Band, Wicked Sober, Copperfields, and Tim Harrell. Guest speakers will be former Super Bowl football champion Vance Johnson, John Schinholzer from Anonymous People, and Alicia Coffey. Ladies and gentlemen, families and friends, open your hearts and minds, grab a blanket and some chairs, and come on out to the
Rally in the Valley.
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 Strength and recovery.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Skook Recovers live broadcast here. It is May 12th, 2017. I just want to explain everybody that the Skook Recovers is a grassroots, inspirational, and activity-based, community-driven recovery project created for, but not limited to, the people of Schuylkill County. My name is Travis the Featherhawk Snyder. I am the founder of the Skook Recovers, and I am a person in long-term recovery. What that means for me is that by the grace of God, I haven't used mind or mood-altering chemicals for over 5 years. As a result of this choice, my life has undergone a profound transformation, but not without incredible love, support, and encouragement from my family, my friends, and my community. Recovery is not easy. It takes hard work, but just know it can be done, and it can create changes and improvements in all areas of life. Your dreams, goals, and aspirations will come true. The idea of this live broadcast was once a dream to me, an idea. It was a goal of mine. It is meant to serve as a hub of inspiration, information, experience, strength, and hope. We don't have all the answers. We never will. I am only human. I'm not perfect, never will be, but I am persistent in creating everything for the underlying purpose of healing the soul of humanity. Before we introduce our guest today, I have some announcements that I would like to make. First and foremost, I want to extend my deepest apologies to the Joseph McCluskey School of Nursing. I got a phone call. I was supposed to make a presentation today, and I had a speaking block, and I was caught off guard. It was not in my conscious awareness one bit, and I just want to extend my deepest apologies for being absent at today's event. That is not like me, but nonetheless, I am very deeply apologetic about that, and I just had to get that out there first. And I really regret not having that come up in my reminders, and I'm just very sorry. That being said, the first announcement I'm going to make is the Chris Herron event is coming up on Monday. That is going to be at the Marion High School in Tamaqua. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I'm going to get the flyers to come through. All right. There we go. And there we go. Chris Herron, the ESPN's award-winning documentary Unguarded. Chris Herron was actually at the Pottsville High School, or at Martz Hall, for a presentation last year. Very inspirational speaker with a very powerful story. There's going to be people there, vendors. Scoop Recovers is going to be there. There's going to be other service providers. If you haven't seen Chris Herron, I highly suggest coming out to this event. It is a free event, and again, that's at Marion High School in Tamaqua, PA. That is Monday, May 15th at 7 p.m. So that is coming up on Monday. The next announcement I'd like to make is we have a Narcan training that is coming up at the Faith Church in Orwigsburg. That's going to be on Thursday, May 18th, and that is from 5:30 to 7:30. If this is something that you're interested in, maybe you have a loved one who's struggling, maybe you just want to be prepared in your community. We see a lot of people that are out here struggling, and we see a lot of the overdoses are just happening so much, so that this is an opportunity to come out and be trained on how to use Narcan and to be able to access this very important thing, life-saving tool. So this will be at Faith Church. If you'd like to register to be a part of this, registration is closing on May 15th. You're going to go to www.coginc.org or call 570-628-6990 to register for this program. Again, Faith Church, Thursday, May 18th from 5:30 to 7:30. This is a free event. The next announcement is going to be Rally in the Valley. This is an incredible event that is coming up on May 20th at Cedar Crest College. I've been blessed to be a part of the planning for this event. There's going to be an incredible amount of vendors, of activities, fun events for the community. It's a family-friendly environment. There's musical entertainment from Scott Marshall with Marshall's Highway Band, the Billy Bauer Band, Wicked Sober, Copper Fields, Tim Herrickle. We have inspirational speakers, Vance Johnson, John Shinholzer, Elisa Coffey, just a plethora of amazing inspirational things happening throughout that day. Scoop Recovers will be there. Safer Streets for Tamaqua Little Feet will be there. Carbon Recovers will be there, amongst many, many other awesome vendors, and there will be food, and just this is one of those events that you do not want to miss. Okay, and then we have an update on the Safer Streets, their second annual Out of the Darkness into the Light Candlelight Walk. So they have been blessed and thankful for a new addition to this walk, and our guest today actually played an important part in bringing in the former NFL wide receiver and person in long-term recovery, a man that goes by the name of Vance Johnson, a very inspirational person who is traveling around really just spreading a message of hope and inspiration and his recovery story, and he's just doing amazing things. Been following this guy for a while. He's going to be gracing his presence at the Overdose Awareness Walk on Saturday, July 22nd in Tamaqua. You're not going to want to miss this. I've been following this guy on Facebook. We're actually probably going to play a video from his Facebook page today, and that is the newest addition and update to the Out of the Darkness Into the Light Overdose Awareness Walk, Saturday, July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. That is in Tamaqua, Pennsylvania. And so here we are. live again for our third broadcast, and I'd like to bring in our guest now. Let me turn his microphone. He's been sitting across from me, patiently waiting to I can tell he's ready to bring some incredible words and wisdom and knowledge and strength and hope today. So I'd like to welcome our guest, Mr. Robert Bedford, the co-founder of Stepping Stones Recovery Foundation and also a person in long-term recovery. Robert Bedford, welcome to the broadcast, my friend.
And thank you for having me represent my organization and be a representative of a person in long-term recovery. What that means for me, I might get an opportunity to share that a little bit later. I've been around a very, very long time with some bumps and bruises along the way, as we all have. But through that, the grace of my higher power, who I choose to call God, and my Savior, Jesus Christ, I've been able to do some amazing things, both for myself, my family, and just hundreds of people throughout the state of Pennsylvania. I see that you all will be aware that I wear this tie-dyed Grateful Dead shirt.
We love that.
That's who I am. That's what I am. That's what many people know me. I'm just a regular Joe Blow. I'm not an executive of the executive branch type. I'm more of the let's get our hands dirty. Let's get down in the and we're on the front lines of fighting an epidemic of monumental historic proportions. Nothing in the last 100 years mimics the epidemic of opioid dependence that's going through our society right now.
I think that extends not just opioid, but I mean we're talking like addiction, any affliction of the mind, things that are paralyzing people's, ability to, carry out just normal day activities and functions.
Absolutely, that is my motto. That even though I just focus on that is the most important thing to hear right now, is that if we just focus on one symptom of the disease of addiction, we miss the point of what the disease really is. And anybody who has suffered or has a family member who suffers understands what I mean when we say this is a disease.
Yeah.
Well,
before we get too far, and I mean, because this is something like these are the conversations we're always having. I just say Robert Bedford was somebody who I through the journey of this recovery project and through the people just. You end up, when you're in this type of work and you're around recovery and you're around people that are, out there doing work to help others, and you get around this community of people, you end up making, like they said in that video, these threads. They start to sow relationships. And just want to say, Robert reached out to me, I think through our mutual friends at Pro A, and it was really cool. He gave me a phone call and he said, hey, I see what you're doing out there. Let's meet up. I mean, I didn't know who Robert Bedford was at the time, but just through the I think the first time we talked on the phone, it was probably like an hour-long conversation. And I just want to say I'm very blessed and grateful to know Mr. Bedford. He the work that he's done. We had lunch here in my town, and when he came, he brought this folder, and he came in his Grateful Dead shirt, like he mentioned before, and he was just a very authentic. Very honest and just a passionate person, has a passion for recovery, for helping people in recovery. And your main focus right now in your life is, and I want to talk more about I want to talk about some things before we get too far into it, but right now your main focus is the Stepping Stones Recovery Foundation. Can you just briefly tell us about that, like kind of give people an idea of where you come from?
Absolutely. Stepping Stones was the brainchild of many years of, as well as being in long-term recovery, I'm also been in a representative for long-term treatment. I've worked in numerous treatment affiliates throughout the eastern part of the state. I hail from Bucks County, which is where Stepping Stones is founded at, Trumbullsville, Pennsylvania, which is in eastern Bucks County, actually northwestern Bucks County, really. It's in the Quakertown area, if you're familiar with that, or 17 miles south of Allentown. And I had a bunch of friends that wanted to start recovery housing, and we've had some difficulty with that on and off throughout the years, and a lot of NIMBY, which stands for Not in My Backyard. Great idea, but please keep that out of the residential areas. And I understood that if we were to really get people into recovery and make them feel part of society again, which is important in my recovery, and many people that I've met throughout my years of doing work in the treatment centers, we were still feeling like outcasts. So let's make a recovery house that has a family style feel to it. Let's put certain parameters, certain boundaries on it. Let's bring a comprehensive program into a recovery house. Recovery houses in their current existence are very, very good indeed, but could we have something new, imaginative, outside of the box? And I became very passionate about this, and I met up with Dr. John Snyder, who is the co-founder of Stepping Stones Recovery Foundation. And his brother had a couple of houses that we decided to sponsor into a compliance manual that we've developed that makes it give that homey feel, that comprehensive feel, certain guidelines that they must meet to be certified by Stepping Stones Recovery Foundation. So that's how we were founded. It was a dream. It was a long-time dream that I had for many years. And when I first got into recovery, I took some time before I decided to what I really wanted to do when I grew up. And I decided that I wanted to be helping other people more than just through a philosophy of mentorship. I wanted to be a professional, and that's where I went with this. So Stepping Stones Recovery is a grassroots 501c3 tax-exempt organization that receives donations to scholarship people into recovery houses. We don't scholarship into treatment. We use our monies very sparingly, very wisely. Every dollar that we spend, we're all volunteer, goes right back into the person receiving treatment. We help with housing, we help with food, we help with clothing, anything that they might need in that early stages of recovery. The first 3 to 6 months are crucial in anybody's recovery. We know this through many different evidence-based treatment experiences, both in the philosophies of church, 12-step recovery, or professional recovery. That first 6 months is critical. And we're losing too many people in that first 6 months. So with that ideal, we founded Stepping Stones has not a crutch, but a helping hand, a way that we could say, put your hand on our shoulder, let's walk together. Let's find a way that we can make this work for you with a higher success rate. I don't know how we gauge success.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and what strikes me about like the conversation we had over our lunch just earlier was like you have this collection of information and knowledge and wisdom and data from so many years of recovery and treatment and ways and different ideas, and it's like you took a really good hard look at what is going on, not only in the history of treatment and recovery and all this, but the here and now. And where we at, and how do we evolve and take all this information, and how do we just improve it? How can I take what already exists and improve it? Is that essentially what a big part of what Stepping Stones does?
That is exactly what Stepping Stones has done. Taken years of the history of treatment, recovery, from many different aspects, the different modalities of treatment that we use professionally, the different avenues of treatment that we use on a non-professional level. Something as ingenious as what you do. Something as ingenious as coming out and just engaging the community and doing the little things that are looked over. We always look at recovery success as amount of years and success as the amount of what I have become, instead of success in just the fact that I'm not picking up for today. That's the key.
Yeah.
How do I get through one day?
Well, and what really strikes me is that it's not just when we talked about the criteria and what you're asking and showing these existing recovery houses, people who are taking on new recovery houses, is that it's just way more than just meetings and paying your rent. Like, this is something that extends into true fellowship. Everything from the cooking meals together to attending and doing community service together to getting involved in your community to, getting involved in outreach and different things like that. Which leads me into, I'd like to get into this conversation with this event that's coming up, Rally in the Valley. And I do want to definitely circle back around and talk more about, Stepping Stones, but it's all in the same space. Okay. And so you're on the committee for the Rally in the Valley. You've been in charge of, communicating and getting the entertainment. But where do you see the value of an event such as the Rally in the Valley? And can you talk about some of the entertainment and some of the speakers, and just talk about how really powerful this event is going to be from your perspective?
Absolutely. We showed a great video that a lot of different views came in on their meetings. My meaning of this, I met up with the individuals that really are the key players, that Chris and Tamara, in a meeting. What I do is I travel all over the state of Pennsylvania. I've been to Pittsburgh, I've been to York, Harrisburg, I've been to Erie, Scranton, just trying to connect resources. And so I happened to be up at a meeting at the Lehigh Valley Intake, which is up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and Chris was the director of the program at the time, and this has been 2 years in the making. And we were sitting around and saying, they had just had a major event in Washington, D.C., just an amazing event where they had some of the greatest singers that are in recovery sharing their hope, their experience. 27,000 people gathered in Washington, D.C., and just a statement of recovery works. Recovery works. And through that, it was asked of everybody to take their ideas back to their community and do this in your hometown. Do this in your community. Spread this across the United States of America. Recovery works. So how is that going to happen? Well, we had all these great minds sitting in a room together. We were all talking about it. How can we make something in the Valley work? And we had an idea of a picnic. And through that came the idea of maybe a rock show, and just many, many ideas. But the theme was, how can we express how an event like this can bring community together? That's what these events do, better than anything we could possibly ever do silently. The movie Anonymous People brings people in recovery out into the open. How can we make an event in the Lehigh Valley area and then hopefully branch out throughout the whole state of Pennsylvania with these kind of events to show that it's not just about recovery of the recovering person, it's about how the community can come together to support and honor and help that recovery. That's the spirit behind what Stepping Stones does, what Rally in the Valley is about, what the marvelous committee of just unbelievable people. Travis stands humbly in the background of many things that he's done for us. We could just go on and on with many of the people beyond it. Better yet, why don't you come out and meet us? We'll all be there.
Yeah. Awesome, man. And sometimes it's mind blowing. Like when you're when you're involved in something like this, you play like a small part. You're just a small piece of a bigger puzzle. And a lot of the dedication and commitment it takes to make something like this happen, like you kind of get zoned in on what you're doing. But like did you have that moment where like you kind of stepped back and you looked like, wow, like look how much support from the gate, like, starting with an idea, coming on, Chris and all those people coming from Unite to Face Addiction, starting with this idea. And then 2 years in the making, then to see this idea grow and like to really to actually get the committee together. It felt like it was only 2-3 months ago. Like we all sat around the table. We didn't have a website. All we had, the idea was there. And just to see in such a short period of time how much support, does that just not show you something very incredible about the strength that recovery, the strength of people and dedication to uniting people and bringing communities together? Like the amount of sponsors, the amount of vendors, the drug and alcohol programs from Lehigh, Carbon, Monroe, and if I might have missed one there, like to see all the donations. I mean, have you seen the list of our sponsors lately on the website? Like, I mean, it's incredible. Like, look over there on that screen. These are all sponsors, and there's probably some missing, a few there. And then if we keep scrolling down, we see the list of all the vendors, everything from food to LuLaRoe to, we have a clown, a face painter coming. I mean, just give me your big picture, like, wow.
Really easy. The wow moment for me was last Friday. as we had the final committee go through, making sure everything, fine-tuning all the fine pieces. Of course, sometimes we have a tendency to do over-analyzing. And at the point where Chris was able to sit back and he just started to share his message a little bit and gave everybody the opportunity to just look back and say, this has been created. And although it's been created in the emphasis of recovery, the thing that all struck me was this is created in the spirit of community. And our theme is caring across communities. We want to smash some of the ideals that are out there about what recovery really means. Take the word recovery out. We're just normal people, just trying to live life.
Right.
Just trying to be part of. Yet we're stigmatized to a point where we always hear about the death and the destruction and the broken families and the broken community relations. And that was what this, to me, became about. A moment of like, wow, stepping stones is a part of this. And what a proper name, stepping stones. This is a stepping stone into the next dimension of what recovery can be.
Right.
Recovery can be something that just is as simple as, just not drinking and drugging on a daily basis. Recovery can also be as expansive as somebody who never knew that they could be something, becoming something. That's my story.
Recovery could be as simple as I'm not going to drink soda anymore.
That's right.
Like, truthfully.
Really can. It absolutely can. There
like
are
that,
so many
a change.
Yes. And so that was my all moment. And I looked around this room and I looked at these amazing minds. And then how did I become involved in this? Well, they said, we need somebody to take on the entertainment committee, Who would be interested in doing that? We needed we needed all these different committees. We didn't even have committees at that point when we were thinking about it. What was it going to look like? What was it going to be? I went through many ideas, and then finally I said, okay, I'll take this ball and run with it. And through that, many beautiful things fell into place. Now, this is where I have to praise my God. Set before me opportunities and people that I would have never been able to get on my own. They just appeared. I don't know how to say it any better than that. Vance Johnson just appeared. There were some connections. It wasn't a manifestation of a spirit in front of me, but it was an opportunity that appeared to have this man, this brilliant man that from Florida, come up and show an interest to come up here and be a keynote speaker. The love that we have for Mr. Tennis. To get him. Gary Tennis was our former Secretary of Department of Drug and Alcohol for the state of Pennsylvania. He's going to be honored on the day by the committee for his years of dedicated service. Then we started to look at what kind of bands, of course, we wanted to have Steven Tyler. We wanted to have the best in the world, but we had no money. So we took a look at that and said, what could that be? And we reached out into the local community, and there was just an outcry. Everybody wanted to be part of it. Well, we could only put so many bands. I don't know whether we got the best, but we certainly got some really good ones that are coming. And that was a lot of hard work and dedication by us all to put all that together. But really, this is the work of something far greater than myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And what I've been shown in my mind and through my prayers and stuff is like this idea, like God being this is almost mathematical. It's like he's like this great mathematician. Like he has a way of just calculating and putting the right pieces in and putting the formula together. You know what I'm saying? I don't really, I guess the greatest mystery of life would be, well, how but I think we understand why.
That's the essence of what we're doing here. Again, if we focus on it's just about recovery, I think we're missing the point of what this is really about. Recovery is the essence of what has to come. But as you stated before so eloquently, everybody is recovering from something in some way, some shape or form. We don't have the perfect person. We don't have the perfect life. We don't have the things that we see on TV that are so perfect and so well scripted. Life is not scripted. Life is life, and we live those things by a set of values and standards. And when we put that together and try to express that across community, that's what Stepping Stone stands for in the Recovery House community and what we're trying to do to change. Our goal is to not stop stigma, to eradicate it from our society. Yeah. We don't want stigma anymore. There's no place for it. There's no place for NIMBY, not in our backyard. There's no place for discrimination in our society of any sort. We talk so much about racial discrimination, and rightly so. It's a serious social problem. And then we lose sight of it's discrimination across the board in every area of our lives. Brotherhood. Growing up in the tie-dye, but one of the greatest pieces we were just discussing of all time, Mr. Lennon wrote a song called Imagine. Imagine how we could love each other and share each other with nothing to kill or die for. Nothing to be selfish over, total sharing, total fellowship, total brotherhood. That's what's going to come together in this one day of Rally in the Valley.
Yeah. And then we take that and like what happened with Chris and Tamara and everybody that was on that trip, they say, now we're going to take this. The message is clear. Can you imagine, like, it's almost like we're the motion in the movement. Like, and I think that even looking back when I first got into recovery in 2012, I don't know that I felt this kind of movement. I felt this in the community aspect. You know what I mean? For a while there, I kind of felt very almost alone. You know what I mean? I was attending meetings and stuff like that, but like it just seems like even in the last 5 years, how much has changed. And then it just, I don't know, it sparks this great feeling inside of, if we keep moving in this direction, and if we keep moving forward and we keep destroying the stigma and destroying discrimination and uniting people, like what can become. And it's just so interesting. Like when I started the Scoop Recovers, I knew that recovery from addiction, substance use disorders, that was the tip of the spear. That was the tip of the spear for what we were doing, was to inspire people, to reduce the stigma, to show our communities that people do recover, to get reintegrated in our communities, to put a face to it, to get out there. But after the tip of the spear was recovery, not just from addictions and substance use disorder or alcoholism or anything like that. It was the community recovering, the consciousness of our county in the culture of just Schuylkill County. You know what I'm saying? And taking all the information and understanding this culture and being able to develop ideas that are going to help to change and shift that culture into a more united one, into a more positive one, where it's not such such a depressed type of place, where we put an emphasis on the positive things happening, and we create simple ideas to unite people. That's like with the cleanups and these things like that, where that became like. And again, I always talk about it. It's such a simple concept, but at the end of the day, like what that does to bring people together, it's like, so, I mean, I just think it's amazing. So then you take Rally in the Valley is like this, it's like everybody, we're meeting at the mecca of this idea in this community atmosphere. So I'm just super excited to see what happens. I mean, maybe I'm going too far ahead because it didn't even happen yet, but I'm like already envisioning what's going to happen, that huge ripple effect from this event and what it's going to do. And you talked about Vance Johnson. Wow.
Amazing personality.
I've been following that guy on Facebook and what he's doing, and I missed that meeting when he was there, regretfully, but I don't know, it's just going to make for the actual time I get to meet him even that much better. So give me a little background on Vance from your knowledge.
My knowledge of Vance is he has a dedication to giving of himself, of his name and what he represents, has a stature in our community, a football player, an accomplished man, to knowing that when he went to the depths of addiction as anybody else and how he's rebuilt his life. When you speak to him, his humility and his gracious concept of God comes through very, very strongly.
Yeah.
A very soft-spoken man. You would not expect a man of such stature to be so soft-spoken. You would, as an inspirational speaker, he's very, very reserved on the way he brings himself across. He expresses ideals about recovery in a very unique way, and I think that's what's going to make his story, his inspirational speech to us, very, very enlightening. It's not the typical "this is what happened, what it's like now" kind of thing. And
yeah, what strikes me about him too is his humility and his humbleness. Like he's just like a torchbearer. He's carrying the light. And he knows where he's at, and he he has that acknowledgement of his faith is so strong, and you know what I mean. And if you read it and watch his posts, just his humility, like, you know what I mean, his ability, and it's authentic, it's real, it's honest, and you know, like that message it reaches really, really far. And I'm just so glad to see somebody in his position, you know what I mean, seeing what sports, where it took his life into his addiction and how he lost everything, and then what he's doing now, and to see him find this great purpose, and then to give so freely, to give so selflessly, to not monetize this thing, like, and I'm sure, like, he's doing so much now. I'm sure, you know what I mean, he's gonna, at some point, you know what I mean, but, like, I would encourage anybody that has this man, like, you know, give this guy, he won't even want it, I would imagine, but, like, I don't know, that's just what strikes me about, I love seeing people that are just in this for all the right reasons, and it just shines through so much brighter, and so much more meaningful. I actually have this Facebook video queued up, and I really want to play this, because this is something, when I watch it was powerful. And so I got this thing queued up here, and I'm gonna let this thing play. Let's see here if I can get this going. No. Looks like my computer's lagging a little bit, but either way, we can continue the conversation until this video starts to queue up, and then once it starts to play, we'll switch it back over. But man, and for you to you know, introduce him to John and Tammy from Safer Streets for Tamaqua's Little Feet, and get him on board with the walk here in little old Schuylkill County. Wow.
Let me talk about that for a moment, if I may. I came, again, these miracles, how they happen. I travel all over the state. As I said, I've been all over. We came to be through a mutual relationship through Pro A, but how I came to be with Tamaqua is even more inspirational as far as I'm concerned. I was at a retreat last summertime, a year ago, with a bunch of 161 ministers from the United Church of Christ. Actually, I was the only non-minister at the conference, and I was representing my church council. And I was rooming up with Reverend Kensington, I think his name is, from up in Tamaqua, and we started talking. And he said, "Yeah, we're doing a town hall meeting. You know, maybe you'd like to come speak at that for us." And I said, "I'd be interested." So I came up, and I was introduced to so many people. But what I wanted to say about that, when I toured what they referred to as the lost city, the forgotten city, in terms of recovery efforts, I literally cried as I was going through some of the neighborhoods and seeing what
in Tamaqua.
The devastation, the lives, the town that you know was a prosperous coal mining era town that it's just really started to rebuild themselves again, and nobody trying to help with the number one problem that they were having, which was a lot of the young men and women were dying as a result of addiction. And what could you do, Mr. Bedford? What could you do? And I was honored to be able to bring some resources to bear, which is, again, what Stepping Stones does, connects resources. And then ultimately, Travis, and ultimately, all of Schuylkill County is going to be involved in some very interesting changes in the way that we perceive recovery and our response to that through this initial meeting. My point of saying that is it came to a humble beginning. Two men in a bedroom to get, you know, sharing a dormitory room at Westchester University, talking about, you know, not recovery. We were talking about our lives, what our journey was. Pastor Kennedy talked about his life. You know, he came from another state here, his first church as an ordained minister. Going through my life, my first real effort of my own business. And I don't look at it as a business, it's a calling. And I'm sitting there sharing it. And then I come to this city of Tamaqua, and I meet John with Safer Streets with the compassion and passion that he has for what he's doing.
Right.
And then I meet you with the energy. Only one that matches my energy, by the way. and
all go toe to toe.
The compassion that you have for what you're doing. And the ideal, the outside of the box ideal is what really struck me the most.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I mean, Robert, Bob, whatever, you don't care what I call it. Grateful
Just don't
Bob.
call me late for supper, right?
No, we are beyond grateful for what you're bringing to Schuylkill County in regards to connecting us with people, bringing different services, different ideas, stepping stones, recovery houses, working with people that want to build recovery houses. We know Schuylkill County and Tamaqua, that is the landscape there is very, it represents basically a lot of the cities and towns throughout Schuylkill County. So what you see there is what you're going to see in a lot of different areas in Ashland, Pottsville, Montanoy City. I mean, they're all very, very similar in so many ways. And so we're just very, very grateful for what you're bringing here, and we look forward to continuing to work and bring recovery houses to Schuylkill County. Honestly, has been the next logical step to create a safe environment inside of our county for people to recover.
Long term recovery is the key.
And to thrive. And so I think that maybe this video might actually play for us now. Let's see here. I don't know what the heck. Let me try this again. See, it was playing before, but I think because I have so much going on my computer all at once that it's probably bogging it down a little bit with this video playing in the background. It'll get going here in a second. Okay. See, that's one thing when we go up against something. Technology sometimes. All right. Okay, so now, all right. And we're probably not going to be able to hear this on here, so I'm going to go and turn it up on.
It's hard to do the little things. And many of you even watching right now, you know how hard it is to do the little things. The little things that will be the difference between you being everything that you want to be and being just mediocre and laying there in that bed in the morning. Even I suffer sometimes with depression. Even I suffer sometimes with this bondage of guilt and shame because I wake up sometimes thinking about the things that have happened in my life in my past. Some of the broken relationships and some of the broken hearts and some of the failures that make me just paralyzed in that bed. The night before I go to bed, I usually, in the middle of the night, I get on my knees and just ask God to give me the strength to make it through the night. That if I don't make it through the night, to thank Him for all the richness of this new life and new walk that I have being sober. And I ask Him to give me the strength for the next morning to be able to get up and challenge myself to be great at whatever it is I'm doing. And trying to reach out to those who are suffering with addiction to encourage them that if this old broken football player who lost everything can get out of bed just to reach another person who's struggling with addiction, to show them that there is hope, to show them that even though I have broken marriages and broken relationships, lost jobs and money and everything you can imagine on this earth, that there is hope for them and this grace that we have with this almighty God of ours. So when you get out of bed tomorrow morning, I want you to do this. Have you ever seen what's the name of that spaceship that took off? The Apollo. That anything that's going to be taken off, and you know once it takes off, it's not coming back the other way, right? So in the morning, I want you to do a countdown. 10, 9. And I want you to start to motivate yourself and to think that when you get to 1, there's nothing that's going to hold you back from getting up. 8, 7. Start to breathe. And commit yourself to doing something that you know you haven't been able to do. 6, 5. Think on those things that you know. All you have to do is get out of bed, and there's no turning back, and you will be on your way to another beginning. 4, 3, 2. Get up. Get up. Get up! Get up! GoPro, stop recording.
Yeah, that was that's Vance Johnson right there.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And when he says that he is committed to what he is, a phone call and 30 seconds in the conversation, it was a simple yes, I'll do it. He didn't even really know what he was going to do yet. He just knew that he was going to do it, and that was for the walk in Tamaqua. So it wasn't a very hard sell. You know, I can't take a lot of credit for this, as Vance says. You know, he believes in God guiding his life, and that conversation was guided from a source greater than either one of us, because before we even spoke, we knew what we called, where he was going, what was going, and then his schedule was clear for that day to boot, which is amazing because he gets literally hundreds of calls a day, to speak.
Wow.
A very magic moment. So if you miss him at the rally, make sure you get to Tamaqua and see this man, and shake his hand and feel the grace of a power much greater than you can imagine. The force that's driving this man to be who he is, the force that's driving us to be who we are, the force that's making the Rally in the Valley a success that it is. To be there and experience that, you talk about the all moment.
Yeah. Yep. You know, what strikes me, too, about Vance is what he said in there. In that video, you know, how at night he hits his knees, you know, and he prays. You know, I personally have a commitment to prayer. I didn't always. I was, you know, early in my recovery, I didn't really understand it. You know, like, I first came in with, like, well, I just gotta, you know, I carry a positive mentality. I gotta be a good person. And people always told me to pray. And I think, like, even over social media, you see this all the time. Prayers, and it just becomes such a passive thing. And I wonder how many times I hear I'm praying for you, how many times people are actually praying for you, or things like that. Not to say, it just became like, I heard it so much that it was almost like, I don't know. At one point then I was like, there's got to be something in this idea of prayer, and what it's for. But I guess if you never really do it, or you never really pray, or experience it, you'll never really know. And I just got to personally testify that what you see right here, this studio, this is a result of prayer. Because I prayed, and I humbly asked God to reveal to me what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. Present the vision, the idea, the tools, the energy, the people, the knowledge, the know-how, but most importantly, the vision of what it is that I'm supposed to do next. To serve you, to serve humanity, to serve and help heal and bring love, peace, and harmony and unification into the world. And then I listen. And that's the one thing. Praying is one thing. I don't pray for things. I pray for, just reveal things to me, and give me the strength to carry through. But I think on the prayer is important, but then listening, being able to listen. Do you commit to prayer, and what is your?
I begin every prayer with "Thank you, Lord."
Yeah.
And then for whatever it is I'm thankful for. I never ask for selfish, self-centered ideas, as we would many times pray before. I never pray for good health. If that's going to happen, that's going to happen. I mean, I not in an asking sense. I pray for it in a knowledgeable sense, a sense that I know that God's going to take care of me in whatever it needs to be. Knowing that this is, when I'm praying for good health, what am I praying for? This is a shell. Within the shell is a spirit. My spirit is always in good health today. It wasn't when I was an addict. It wasn't when I was in a different frame of mind than I am today. So prayer is necessary to keep my spirit healthy. And if I pray, then I don't have to ask God to keep my spirit healthy because it's healthy. Prayer actions. What I'm doing today as far as Stepping Stones recovery is prayer answered.
Yeah.
What you're doing here is prayer answered. Your prayer has been answered. Make me an instrument of your will, God.
Yep.
One of the most famous prayers, we call it the 11th step prayer in certain areas of life. It's the prayer that Francis of Assisi, I'm sorry. And now that is the prayer that, make me keep for thy peace where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there's war, make me be peace. Pray for not so much of what I should receive, but what I should give.
Yeah.
And the legend, or the story is that came from him after a very serious problem within his life, and his life was not very good. And we do the same thing when we come out of the depths of despair, whether it be from a mental illness, whatever you're recovering from, addiction, food addiction, whatever the case may be, addiction, hard times, bad times, low self-worth, feelings of not being able to get out of bed for whatever your reason is. And you face that and you say, thank you. Now what can I do? Your will, not mine, be done. Yeah. And when we do that, when we operate in that manner, no matter what you do cannot be wrong. And that's the basis, the spiritual basis is why I chose Stepping Stones Recovery Foundation. The foundation of that recovery process is prayer and meditation, on a daily basis. Sometimes prayer and meditation is happening right as we're having our board meetings. Where are we going in the future? What are we going to do with this? Where are Stepping Stones going? The next step. I'm not satisfied with touring the state of Pennsylvania and doing the things that I'm doing here and teaching other people. Now, we're going to take it ourselves and we're coming up with a new type of recovery house, something different, something that has not been seriously attempted yet. And when we put this model in focus and when we can prove it works, I believe that this is the answer to my prayer. How do we solve the problem of long-term recovery?
Absolutely. Successful people in long-term recovery, successfully recovering long-term. That's absolutely 100% agree with that. I did want to add to the whole prayer conversation too, I kind of look at it I treat it like an art. I didn't always, but I treat it almost like an art. It's like you're developing it's like you're working on your communication skills, the way you communicate with God. And I would always start with the thanks and gratitude. Absolutely giving thanks for the blessings, you could literally pray for 10 minutes just giving thanks for all the amazing things that life has to offer. Just thank you for consciousness, for compassion, for the ability to love, to see out both. The list goes on. And then with that, knowing, I go into praying for those out there who are still sick and suffering, regardless of what they're still sick and suffering. It does not just have to be addictions. Then I pray, I always just humbly ask God to, give strength to all those people that are working to help others, to give hope to the hopeless, help to the helpless, strength to the weak, food to the hungry, rest to the tired, to shelter to those who have none. Lift up the hearts and minds of those people who are in service to those. You know what I'm saying? So it's thanks, outwardly praying and focusing to give strength to the areas of those in desperate need, and then moving into, just simply provide only what is absolutely necessary, the necessary tools to carry out your will, whatever that may be. But after that is then the mechanical part of life. Just prayer is important, but then we got to go to work. What you've built with what you guys have put together, you and your co-founders, if you want to give them a shout out.
Absolutely. Mr. Ralph Snyder owns Helping Hands in Recovery, two extremely well-run houses, and his brother John has just been from a business sense, he's been my backbone, my inspiration as far as where I can take a business standpoint of this. He's a very practical person in our group. Yeah. He's not in recovery from addiction, but he is in recovery from a brother who is in addiction. So that's another recovery we don't talk about. Family goes into recovery as well. The whole concept of family, bringing us right back to Rally in the Valley.
Rally?
The whole idea with the rally is to get families to come out together and do something. Not you go here. Start to be a family, and whatever that means for your family. But it's an opportunity at a rallying point to see all this diversity of what we can do in recovery. We're not just a bunch of people that mindlessly walk through life with an idea that we'll never be any more than just a recovering person. We will become a person that lives life normally. I dream of the day that we talk of people in recovery as not in people in recovery. We just talk them as a people.
Right. Yeah, because a friend of mine was like, when does that label come off? It was a good question. It was a very interesting question. I was like, I don't know. Because I know, like, society in general, we live by labels. Recovery, addict, black, white, Christian, Muslim.
Substance use disorder. We have to find fancy names to cover it up. Why don't we just not cover it up anymore? Why don't we just be who we are and what we are and understand that this disease, let's call it what it is causing people to suffer. Can we cure this disease? Unfortunately, we have not found a cure for it yet. That's the key. And that's why we're always in, quote, recovery. I'm speaking from my stepping stone standpoint again, but remember what I said in the beginning. Our mission statement says to eradicate stigma, not to just put it in the background.
I love the harsh, I like that. I picture like a term, like someone that comes in, eradicates bugs from your house.
That's right. They're gone. It doesn't exist anymore. You certainly don't want them to come back.
If you do anything more tolerant than that, you're just leaving a door open to let it remain.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, labels really, they become our guidelines in a sense. They don't have to be the end-all, be-all, But, wow, man, this has been a really cool conversation. So, if anybody wants to reach out to you, do you mind if I put your information up on
Please do.
So, again, just briefly, because this is a long broadcast and it was brought up a little bit, so just now that your information is up there, just tell people what they can reach out to you for.
Well, of course, if you feel the movement to donate, all of our monies go directly back into scholarshiping people into recovery housing. Last year, that was the primary source of all of our monies, was to go right back into scholarship. Now we're being a little more diverse, where we're going to be putting some of our monies to open up a new one, but which is a new recovery house that is going to be stepping stones. It's going to be a recovery house for coexisting disorders, and that will be in Lower Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So that's soon to be coming very well. It'll be called Spiritual Transitions, and the other part that you can do is just become involved in what we do. We'd love to hear from you. We have a way that you can communicate with me through your emails. We'd love to have you take tours of our recovery houses on our Contact Us page. You can just click on any of the recovery houses, and they on their icon, and they will walk you through their programs to see what they are like. A little bit of where we're going to in the future. Our education program is being revamped right now to become, we feel, one of the top-notch free family education programs being presented. We continue to do that on a community basis. They will also be presented in all of our recovery houses, something that we don't have too much of going on. Life skills and education groups going on in recovery houses. So these are the things that you can help us continue to employ into our business and into our message of recovery as we take this to other areas. As I stated, I've been all over the state with this message. And many people have bought onto this philosophy and are starting their own recovery organizations, their own associations, if you will, of recovery houses coming together to follow a set of ideals. We also are very strongly involved in political points of view that take us to a sense of what a recovery house can be, and we're trying to influence, not lobby. It's different. We just go and we express what we're doing. So we'd like your ideas on what you would like to see us take to state representatives and maybe hopefully change the face of what the industry of recovery housing looks like right now to be a more unified and more prosperous and successful body.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Definitely big shout out to you, man, like for what you're doing, and I look forward to continuing to work with you and this coming together on ideas and actually taking the action steps. Another thing that I think that you kind of helped bring into the mix was some CRS training in our area. So that's in the mix right now. What's the update on that?
The update on that is we're waiting on a date. The organization ProA has approved a training in Tamaqua. I would say they would stay in touch with you on your site, on your Facebook page, and then you could put up the information, the exact start of that when it comes up. If this is successful, we plan to bring maybe one over to this area of Schuylkill County next. So with the CRS training is basically, it's a certified recovery specialist. A person must have a significant time of recovery. We're asking for a year of recovery now. And you must be a member of the recovering body, which is what the certification is for. Give people in recovery an opportunity to constructive work, take their experience and apply that in a mix of experience with a profession. You're trained professionally on ethics and confidentiality and all the things that anyone else would get that's working with the general public in a professional capacity. But the experience of a recovering person with another recovering person is invaluable in recovery. Issues of trust and companionship and understanding and empathy all come to play here. So that's one of the things that, thank you for reminding me, that we're helping bring to Tamaqua, and again through different areas of Schuylkill County, probably something to the Pottsville area very soon.
Yeah, just for people that are making it through this long broadcast, to the ones that are really listening and hearing what we had to say. If you're a person in long-term recovery, you have it's this and you feel that desire in your heart that you feel like you can reach out and CRS is sort of like being like a guide, a coach. You're helping people along. You're not necessarily doing it for them. You're just helping them along. And that's just my understanding of CRS. I kind of should have been on that train a long time ago, but the timing of everything didn't work out. But I'm just grateful that, this is going to be more accessible, this training in our area. It has been around. My dear friend, Dr. Martha Thompson, had offered the training twice. This is our second go around, and we appreciate that she brought that to get it going in our area. And, the way I look at it when it comes to this, the more the merrier. Let's bring it in. Let's get as many people involved as possible. So be on the lookout for that. We'll definitely be keeping an update. That's going to be organized through Safer Streets for Tamaqua's Little Feet, Pro A, and Scoop Recovers will definitely have a part to do with getting the word out and filling some of those seats. So just be on the lookout for that. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on? Maybe you want to talk about your personal recovery, send some experience, strength, and hope out there for those people that are listening to the broadcast. Maybe those that are still suffering, still struggling. Maybe someone new to recovery. Let it out there, man. What's your message?
Absolutely. I've been in long-term recovery for over 5 years now. But my journey started in 1986. I had 17 and a half years into recovery when a tragedy struck me that I was ill prepared for. But in that time of recovery, I had many successes. By many successes, a many success was the fact that I had reestablished myself as a member of society. I had now educated myself to get a degree in social work. I was now working in the field of addiction counseling, but I still wasn't working towards a spiritual solution to my problem. And when 17 years into my recovery, one of the worst things that could possibly happen to me happened, which was the death of my second child. And that happened at birth, and I handled that fairly well for about 2 or 3 years, remaining clean and sober, but not really feeling like I was part of the world and losing grasp of what happened. My oldest child, who I wear this shirt for, is been in treatment for the last 5 years. He started when he was 14 years old in the juvenile system. Out of 5 years of his life, the last years of his life, he has spent about 7.5 months at home. The rest has been in treatment facilities. So we have a beautiful relationship and a great relationship. That's his journey. But why I mention that is when he started his journey 5 years ago, it came to me that how could I stay in the position I was at that point I wasn't drinking or drugging anymore, but I wasn't working any type of a program, and that's why I only consider myself with 5 years of recovery. I was just not in recovery. When I say I wasn't drinking alcoholically, I would have a glass of wine here or there, that kind of thing sometimes. But when I saw what my son was going through, how could I role model and be a father, knowing what I knew about myself, and that possibility of return to active addiction was part of my story now, and that why was I not going back? What was the shame and guilt that I was feeling? And so I came back with a new vigor and a new inspiration, and this was again 5 years ago. And I met a gentleman who took me under his wing and taught me a way of looking at life that I had never looked at before, through a philosophy of spirituality. And when I was doing this, I was doing a prayer with him. And during this prayer, I had been horribly abused as a child, and I would not ever drop to my knees or go in a position of feeling compromised or belittled ever again. And to me, that was a symbol of my abuse, dropping to my knees to pray. So even when I prayed, it was I would lay on my back in bed, I would sit in a chair, but I would never drop to my knees and humble myself in that. And he put his arm around me and said, "This is the part where we have to kneel and pray, Bob." And I said, "I don't think I can do that." I was saying that to myself. He had no idea about my abuse or what was going on, yet he had said that to me. And later on, he would tell me he had never said that before. And I share this because this is very important to hear. That was an act of God way beyond my comprehension, because, again, I was saying to myself, I'm not going to kneel. He was saying to himself, you don't have to. And neither one of us knew anything much about each other. And at that point, a thought came into my head. And I believe it wasn't a voice, but it was a message from God speaking to me saying, what are you still holding on to? And at that point, I understood that if I couldn't give of myself freely, turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood him, what was I holding on to? And that was that kneeling. If I couldn't humble myself to kneel, wasn't I still holding on to the abuse? Wasn't I still holding on to all the trauma that I experienced? And as long as I was holding on to that, I could never have true spiritual recovery, which is the basis of my recovery and the basis of my sponsor's recovery. And at that point, I dropped to my knees and I prayed. And a feeling of freedom came over to me as I had never had in my entire life. I knew I was never going to drink again. That was one freedom. The other freedom was the freedom of being shackled and the freedom from bondage of the abuse and the life that I had lived. I was truly able to give that away and turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood God. And at that moment, everything in my life changed. Things were much different for me then. I was able to let go of things I could never let go of before. And then I said to myself, I need to get back into the field of recovery. I used to be very good at this. I helped a lot of people. And my enthusiasm came back and my vigor came back. And then I met the Snyders. And they ignited me into a fifth dimension, if you will, of reality that I had never experienced before. And I knew at that point my calling was now to develop the spiritual organization called Stepping Stones Recovery and to help as many people as I can before I leave this earth and before I meet my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. When that happened to me, many of these things happened. Meeting you, coming here today, doing the things I do are effortless. There's no effort to them. It was like Vance is saying, God bless him, I don't have that horrible feeling of not wanting to get out of bed ever. Every day I want to get out of bed because it's a new adventure, a new day. Every night when I go to bed, I say, thank you, God, for the things you have given me today. May tomorrow be a day better, if it be your will. And I go to sleep. That's as simple as it can be. You know, if I wake up, my life has been fulfilled. If I don't wake up, my life has been fulfilled. I've lived many different lives, but never the life of my dreams. And my dreams were always in past materialistic in sense, unrealistic in sense. Today, they are neither unrealistic or materialistic anymore. They are a true understanding of what it means to be one with brother. A brother in Christ, a brother in recovery, a brother in life. And I've been truly blessed. Truly blessed. And I can't thank you all enough for listening through my understanding of recovery and life and what life can be to you. But if there's ever a lost soul out there that does not believe that there's hope, hope is what brings you to recovery. And every one of you have hope. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, man. Wow. Ooh. Just love the... Just take a moment just to be thankful right now. I think, like, we all have... What's so interesting about it is we all kind of have that defining moment, I think. Some, it's almost like a divine intervention in a way. Some, it's more of a process of something happening through a longer period. It wasn't maybe not just this, like, all of a sudden this an awakening. For me, it was sort of an awakening. Like, it was bound to happen. Like, it was like this was going to happen. It was just a matter of when. And I think the when was the surrender. You know, and I think maybe for some people out there that are struggling and don't, in their immediate future, they're going to have to go through some pain as a result of the things they've been doing, the disease that has taken over. Withdrawals, rehab, treatment, what that curtails. You know, what is your advice to those people that are just on the fringes, that really are just afraid to take that next step, or that first step, or I guess maybe better, like, how to surrender? How do you do it? Is there even an answer? I don't know. Can you elaborate, man? Because I think that's like where a lot of people are right now. There's so many people right there.
I belong to a parent support group. You know, I have all the knowledge and the teachings of how to tell other people to do things. That's all great. But when it applies to your own life, it's different. So I, too, need support because I am a parent of a young man that cannot get recovery. So I have issues around that I seek empathy and understanding. And so often I'm asked, because they know that I'm probably the only person in this particular support group. Every once in a while we get one that is in recovery from alcoholism as well. And so quite often they ask me that question. When did you hit rock bottom? I said, well, probably when I was about 25. When did you come to the program? Well, I was 35. What brought you to the program? You see, and what is rock bottom? What brought you to the program is what they want to know. And that's all I can give you. I can't give you any advice or any solid answer. But in my experience, in my 27, almost 28 years of experience being around the program, only relapsed for a very short time. But, so technically 27 years of being in every different type of recovery known to man, both from my abuse issues and my alcoholism. What brought me to my senses was that moment of sanity which came with hope that I could be free of the merciless obsession of spending every day of my life drinking and drugging, the merciless obsession of every day of my life spending in depression and despair. That hope is the word. How do we express hope to those who are hopeless? And when you can do that, when you can find the way to express hope from hopelessness, that is when you will find recovery from whatever it is you're choosing to recover from.
And like Todd said in that Rally in the Valley video, Todd Barlow, where he talked about it, I love that just segment right there where addiction is a disease of isolation, and what it means to get around other people that are, they're not, when it comes to this, when you're getting in the rooms, when you're getting around people, we're not perfect. We all have our flaws, but that's just the surface level. Spiritually, we're choosing, we're there for a reason. So we're seeking a positive light, we're living with a positive light, or we're there to learn, hopefully, to uplift our spirits. So what does that do? And this goes right back into the recovery houses and stuff like that, and what it means to get involved in different communities, in recovering communities, in 12-step fellowships. Can you just reinforce that idea to remind people why it's so important to develop or become part of a community?
Without getting too philosophical, everybody wants to be wanted and needed. At the very essence of who humanity is as a person, from a child all the way up to when we are in our senior years, we always want to be wanted and needed and loved. And so the community concept is what fulfills that emptiness, that void that you may have that you don't feel fulfilled. What part of community are you missing? You just mentioned the three. If you're not in recovery, per se, of an addiction of some sort or a dependence of some sort. Remember, the definition of addiction is an obsessive compulsive dependence on a substance and or behavior. So if you're not addicted to a behavior or a substance of any sort, okay, so you're just one of the free people of the world, are you fulfilled in all areas of the community? Do you have a spiritual community that you feel? And that doesn't mean a spiritual community, a sense of spirit, a sense of who you are, a sense of self. Are you connected with your family community? Are you connected with your living community? So community can represent all those, and if you're missing any of those pieces of the puzzle, you can't truly have full spiritual recovery. And so what we do in the Recovery House movement that we're trying, or the philosophy that we're coming up with, is the full encompassment of all community. Again, we go right back to Rally in the Valley, which I love it so much, the concept of caring across communities. So when you're in the Recovery House, you're caring across your house community, you're caring across the community in the fellowships that you may be involved outside of the community, and then you're also becoming involved in the community of society. Useful, productive members of society. We always wanted that. We didn't know how to do it. Some of us had it and lost it. Vance talks about it in his video. Being this football player, this rock of the gladiator.
Mm-hmm.
We look at our football players in this country. They're gladiators. They're in the arenas and they're fighting the lions, which are really each other. And they're rock solid, muscular, built men of unbelievable stature. And we put them to a rise of esteem of they make more money than our president. You know, they make more money than doctors, so where do we put that person? And then to go to despair of some days, he tells us he can't get even out of bed. But it's a sense of community and purpose. And there's purpose in community. And community has purpose. And so that's the importance of bringing community concept into the recovery house, besides just the concept of a bunch of men living together and getting well.
Yeah. Men or women.
Correct.
Wow. So, man, this just excites me for the future of recovery houses here in Pennsylvania. I've already put it into the idea, the ever expanding idea in my mind of having a recovery house, maybe out here in the Higgins Valley even. I just thought, I mean, I don't know, man, like, you know, I'm always thinking outside of the box. I'm thinking on the level of like some kind of farmhouse and like, you know, and where we're growing gardens and we're taking care of animals, and you know what I mean. And I always growing up on a farm and with my family, I've been so very blessed, and I'm grateful beyond measure for to be fortunate to have the family I do. And with that knowledge and understanding, that's why I work so hard to be able to create that kind of love for other people. So I grew up around a dinner table, you know, with my grandmother cooking meals. And I know even that just itself, just being with my family and enjoying a meal together, and what that does for the spirit, that fellowship, that collective energy. Wow. And so I always think, like, you know, when you talk about the criteria and with your recovery houses and the idea, it's not just a house full of people in recovery. This is like a family that's enjoying cooking together, having meals together, quality meals together, not just working on recovering and having meetings, but sharing ideas, encouraging and empowering each other to take their recovery into greater spaces, you know, tapping into different skills, different hobbies, and different things that they like to do, and expanding on those ideas, and just knowing the basis of being able to follow through with those dreams and those ideas and expand on them. It starts with that recovery, with that spiritual growth, with that growth inside of that community, inside of that family. And so, like, it's just, I got to thank you so much for, you know, bringing this and just keeping this idea so very alive in our county, which desperately needs this type of environment, and just the advocacy work that you do, and getting in front of people inside of those areas where not in my the NIMBYs, the not in my backyards, and being able to come in and just have these conversations. And the work you do, we are just truly blessed and grateful to have you, Mr. Bedford, Mr. Robert Bedford, my dear friend and brother in recovering in Christ. I'm just very grateful for you, man.
My expression of gratitude and love for you is unmatched, my friend. You know, we've developed something very special and very close, very short time. I'm very indebted to yourself and to Safer Streets for giving me the opportunity to bring my philosophy to you, and the willingness you have to accept the idea. And where you are going to take that is how it works for your community. This is not Robert Bedford's community, no. But I am willing to put my arm around you and say, let's do this walk together. Everybody that may be listening and be part of this, you have my contact number. You can call me anytime, even if you just want to call to talk. You don't even have to call about stepping stones. I'm offering that to you. I'm always available to try to talk. The only time I don't pick up my phone is if I'm in a meeting. You know, you're all my brothers and sisters. So please become involved as a community. If you're not in recovery, then find a way that you can help those who are.
Yeah, I can tell you that, like, having the support from my community was instrumental in the growth of this project. Without the support of the community, and just people saying, yeah, man, just keep doing what you're doing, and getting that love, like, I can't say that we'd be where we are today. Ultimately, at the end of the day, both you and I, we turn it over to God, and we humbly acknowledge that we are just part of something way greater than ourselves. And we're just tapped into that, and we have that relationship from there, and that's where we draw our strength from, and that's why we're able to do what we do. You know what I mean? So, all high praises aside, man, I'm just going to turn it over right there to that great that highest omnipresent source of love. I'm sure you can agree with that as well.
Absolutely. In the words of John Lennon and Paul McCartney, all you need is love.
That should be our outro song, man. Well, it looks like we've been going on for a good period of time, man. But again, it's a true blessing, and I'm just grateful that you came here. We talked about a lot of stuff, and that's what this is about. This is just a platform, a hub of inspiration, information, experience, strength, and hope. That's what this radio show is for, and we're going to continue to expand on this as well. I do want to make a plug. I mean, we gotta go to Robert Bedford's website, Stepping Stones Foundation. They run off donations. They're in it for the right reasons, but it definitely takes some financial support as well to help these things move along, as well as the Skooker covers. We run off of, we sell T-shirts right now. That's our thing. And we have a lot of amazing people that have donated over the last almost 2 years coming up here in June. But right now, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of expenses, but moving forward, a lot of great things are coming, things that I can't really announce at the moment, but there's been some changes. And
education. Actually, we forgot to mention that we are bringing education to the area, free education courses. So stay tuned, they will be coming as well.
So this is Robert Bedford, their foundation that he's a co-founder of, Stepping Stones Recoveryfoundation.org. The website is it'll be up on our Facebook page and on our website as well, as I'm going to upload this to YouTube. You could subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can follow us on Facebook. We do also have an Instagram. Again, we do right now. You can support the Skooker covers. I believe we do have a place that you can donate on our website, but you can also purchase a T-shirt in our store. This broadcast will be available on our website at the very top, www.theskookercovers.com. You can log on to our website and you can download this audio and you can listen to it anytime you want. I probably should have announced that at the beginning, so people don't think that this is a one-time live broadcast. This will be available to watch and to also view on YouTube as well. And with that, is there anything else that you would like to add before we take this out?
I would just like to pass my blessings and my gratitude on to all of you. Thank you very much for allowing me to be part of your recovery.
Awesome. I just want to thank everybody out there one more time. To all the loving energies, all the people, all of the organizations, individuals, families, people in recovery, people who shared their testimonies, people who have liked, shared, commented, who took this message of recovery and hope and inspiration, to all those involved in our communities doing cleanups, to everybody out there in our communities that aren't involved in the recovery community who are doing good things. I see a lot of cleanups and beautification stuff happening, and it's just so great to see people stepping up around the county. Don't stop that movement of creating common ground for people to come together to engage in something that serves the greater good, because in that unification, in those moments when you're coming together to do something positive, whether it's helping animals, whether it's helping the elderly, whether it's helping those that are marginalized and in need, our veterans, homeless, whatever it may be, don't stop. Continue to do that great work, because through that great work is growth, and growth in the matters of the spirit, growth in unification, and my goodness, the world just needs so much more of that type of energy. We're going to have another live broadcast tomorrow morning at 8:30 with Kids Fight for Animals. So we're looking forward to talking to the 3 young women from Kids Fight for Animals who are still in 6th grade in elementary school, who have created this animal abuse awareness project that is doing amazing work to raise awareness and to get involved with helping animals and helping different rescues find adoption for animals, and just raising funds and just really just taking on this leadership role in our community. So that is tomorrow morning, Saturday, at 8:30 in the morning, bright and early. Get a cup of coffee, come out and enjoy. or not come out and enjoy, but sit in your living room, sit in your office, take some time to be inspired by these young ladies and what they're doing. So with that, we're going to sign off. Robert Bedford, once again, God bless you for being here, for sharing your energy, for sharing your experience, strength, and hope, for sharing the Stepping Stones Recovering Foundation, what you're all about, for just sharing all the wonderful messages that you left with us today. And with that, I guess I need like a call, a sign out. What's it gonna be? Like peace, love, and recovery. I'm gonna have to write that. I got the intro written. I'm gonna have to come with the outro. But I just want to say thank you once again. I'm grateful beyond measure for everybody out there. And until next time, actually tomorrow morning, take care. God bless, and recovery is possible. Peace.
Marvelous.
When there is no pebble toss, nor wind to blow, reach out your hand. If your cup be empty, if your cup is full, may it